Ever heard of the Great Emu War? No? Well, gather round. In 1932, Australia found itself in a peculiar predicament. An army of emus was ravaging wheat crops in Western Australia. Enter the Australian military, armed with machine guns, to wage war on these feathered foes. The debate in Parliament was nothing short of a comedic tragedy. So, our grand military strategy is to fight birds now? One sarcastic politician quipped. Another retorted, well, we can't have those emus declaring independence, can we? The operation was a debacle, with emus outrunning the soldiers and their gunfire. As one bemused officer reported, the emus have proven to be more agile than anticipated. The war ended with a truce that left the emus victorious and the government red-faced. The Great Emu War remains a captivating tale of human folly and nature's unexpected resilience. Picture this, a dimly lit tavern in 17th century London, the air thick with smoke and the clatter of tankards. At one table, William Shakespeare is red-faced, veins bulging, as he argues passionately about his authorship of the plays bearing his name. Across from him, Sir Francis Bacon's fans, with smug, knowing smirks, roll their eyes so hard it's a wonder they don't get stuck. "Oh, please, Will," one scoffs, "you expect us to believe a mere actor could pen Hamlet? How quaint." Shakespeare, exasperated, retorts, "Yes, because clearly, writing requires a title and not talent." The tension escalates as another Bacon supporter chimes in, "Next, you'll tell us you invented the printing press." The bard's comeback is dripping with sarcasm, "Yes, and while I was at it, I also painted the Mona Lisa." The room erupts in laughter, but the debate simmers, a perpetual storm of wit and skepticism that would echo through the centuries. Imagine a world where the very existence of a continent is debated in the halls of academia. Welcome to the late 18th century, where the fierce debate over the existence of Antarctica captivated the scientific community. On one side, the Terra Australis believers, adamant and almost religious in their conviction, painted glorious pictures of a vast southern land teeming with life. On the other, the skeptics, armed with sarcasm sharper than a polar wind, mocked, yes, and perhaps unicorns grazed there too. The tension escalated when Captain Cook, returning from his voyages, declared, "If such a place exists, it's guarded by an army of icebergs and the most inhospitable climate imaginable." His biting words sent a chill through the ranks of the believers, who retorted with dreams of untold riches and new species waiting to be discovered. This clash of icy wit and fiery passion continued until the early 19th century when explorers finally set foot on the frozen continent, proving once and for all that sometimes, sarcasm melts before the truth. Ever wondered how the Wright brothers silenced their skeptics, those who scoffed with, "If man were meant to fly, he'd have wings"? Picture a smoky room in the early 1900s, filled with overconfident engineers and scientists, dismissing the notion of human flight as a whimsical folly. Orville Wright, with an air of quiet confidence, presented their findings, only to be met with sarcastic retorts like, "Do you plan on strapping feathers to your arms? And maybe you should consult with the local birds." Unfazed, the Wright brothers invited these naysayers to a field in Kitty Hawk. Imagine the collective gasp when their flyer lifted off the ground, defying gravity and skepticism. The once mocking crowd stood in stunned silence, their derisive laughter swallowed by the roar of the motor and the undeniable reality of human ingenuity. This moment wasn't just a victory for the Wright brothers, it was a triumph for visionaries over the myopic, a testament to daring dreams over dismissive doubts. Imagine a courtroom in Tennessee, 1925, where the future of American education hangs in the balance. The stage is set for the Scopes monkey trial, a spectacle that pits science against religion. Enter William Jennings Bryan, a titan of oratory, fervently defending creationism. Opposite him stands Clarence Darrow, sharp-witted and unrelenting, championing Darwin's theory of evolution. "Mr. Bryan," Darrow drawls sarcastically, "do you believe everything in the Bible should be taken literally?" Bryan, unflinching, retorts, "Yes, even Jonah and the whale." With a smirk, Darrow responds, "So you're telling us a man can survive in a fish for 3 days? Must have been a hell of a fish." The tension in the room crackles, as each side digs deeper, exposing the rift in American society between tradition and progress. The trial's outcome may be a foregone conclusion, but its reverberations shake the nation, challenging the very core of how truth and knowledge are perceived. Ever heard about the Great Emu War of 1932? Yes, you read that right, Australia waged war against a bird. Imagine the scene, a room full of military strategists, heatedly debating whether to deploy soldiers armed with machine guns to take down a flock of rogue emus wreaking havoc on farmlands in Western Australia. "I reckon we could just ask them politely to leave," one officer quipped sarcastically, rolling his eyes. Meanwhile, another chimed in, "Why not just teach them to farm while we're at it?" The plan was as absurd as it sounded, and the results were even more comical. Spoiler alert, the emus won. If you think today's political debates are ridiculous, Just remember that once upon a time, humans seriously debated how to defeat a bird army, and lost. Have you ever heard of the Great Emu War of 1932 in Australia, where humans armed with machine guns took on flightless birds? Yes, you read that right. As Australia grappled with an emu invasion devastating crops, officials decided to declare war on these feathered foes. Picture this, farmers and soldiers in a heated debate, one exclaiming, "Surely, we can outsmart a bird with a brain smaller than a walnut, right?" Spoiler alert, the emus outmaneuvered the soldiers, leading to one of the most baffling military defeats in history. The sarcastic retorts were almost as cutting as the bullets. "Oh, look at us, the great defenders of the nation, being bested by a bunch of oversized chickens." The irony was palpable, and the emus emerged victorious, leaving Australia to reconsider their war tactics, against birds, no less. Imagine the heated debate in 19th century Paris, when the city's intelligentsia gathered to discuss the merits of Louis Pasteur's germ theory. Amidst the smoke-filled room, one skeptic, Dr. Pompous, sneered, "So, Monsieur Pasteur, you claim invisible creatures cause diseases? Next, you'll tell us fairies make the flowers bloom." Pasteur, with an arched eyebrow and a half a smile, retorted, "Indeed, Dr. Pompous, and perhaps your ignorance is proof that trolls still exist." The room erupted in laughter, but the tension was palpable as Pasteur's groundbreaking ideas clashed with entrenched beliefs. This wasn't just a scientific squabble, it was a battle for the future of medicine. Ever wondered if one of history's most heated debates wasn't about war or politics, but about tomatoes? Picture this, 1820s Salem, New Jersey. Colonel Robert Gibbon Johnson, tired of endless debates over whether tomatoes were poisonous, decided to settle the matter in the most dramatic fashion possible. He stood on the courthouse steps, a crowd of 2,000 horrified onlookers gasping as he prepared to eat a basket of the so-called poison apples. His critics, dripping with sarcasm, jeered and mocked, "Hope you've got your will sorted, Colonel." With each bite, the tension escalated. Would Johnson collapse in agony or survive to mock his detractors? As the final tomato disappeared, Johnson stood triumphant, not only shattering myths but immortalizing tomatoes in American kitchens forever. Ever wondered if a giant tortoise really caused a massive philosophical debate? Just ask Aesop and the hare. Fast forward to 1908, and we're not in a fable but the bustling intellectual hub of Cambridge University, where Bertrand Russell and Albert Einstein clashed in an electrifying debate over the nature of time and space. Russell, armed with mathematical rigor, questioned Einstein's revolutionary theory of relativity, quipping, "So, if I walk faster, do I become younger?" Einstein, with his usual dry wit, retorted, "Only if you walk backwards, Mr. Russell." The crowd erupted in laughter, but beneath the humor was a profound disagreement that would reshape modern physics. Russell's skepticism forced Einstein to elaborate on his theories, ultimately strengthening the scientific community's understanding of the universe. The intellectual tension was palpable, as two of the greatest minds sparred in a battle of wits and equations, leaving everyone in the room questioning the very fabric of reality itself.